Could be. Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Monday Night Football Overtime. We got bonus coverage, okay? 2 Monday night games, 2 for the price of 1. We weren't supposed to get this game on Monday. Initially, it was supposed to be a Sunday contest, 1 p.m. However, or actually 4:25 p.m. This was supposed to be the game of the week on CBS, their doubleheader. Instead, Cam Newton gets COVID-19. They got to test the rest of the Patriot players. Jordan Ta'amu of the Chiefs, their practice squad quarterback, also had contracted COVID-19. They had to test the rest of the Chiefs players. No one else showed up with a positive test on either club, so the game was moved to Monday. Here we are. And I talked about the importance of this game and how I didn't think they were going to win anyway. And I didn't think this game was going to go the way that it did. 26-10, Chiefs victory. They're now 4-0 on the season. Patriots dropped to 2-2. I didn't think this game was going to go the way that it did. I thought this was going to be, and I did say this on the podcast earlier today when we kind of previewed this game briefly, that, hey, if there's any coach in the league that could stymie this Chiefs offense, slow them down, run the football, burn clock, and keep it close and give yourself a chance, it'd be Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And that's exactly what they did. Now, could you imagine if they had Cam Newton tonight? This would have been a very winnable game. As a matter of fact, if you look at the way things went, you could argue that the Patriots would have won this game. Now, I think the Chiefs are a totally different team if Cam Newton's playing in this game. I think they kind of walked into this game, and you don't want to take anybody for granted, but they looked at across the sideline and they said, Billy Ho, really? This guy again? We've beat him on 6 different teams already. He's now in New England starting a game. Okay, this will be easy money. And they were right. He's a clown. I always talk about Billy Ho and how you can't win with clowns like Billy Ho. It's amazing that this guy continues to keep a job in the league, but yet a guy like Colin Kaepernick can't get work. It just amazes me that people sit here and will argue that Colin Kaepernick's not good enough to be in the league, or even some other guys that aren't in the league currently aren't good enough to be in the league. And you look at what Billy Ho did tonight. He vomited all over himself, all right, soiled himself in some of the most crucial situations of this game, and yet he's still going to collect a check from the New England Patriots for the remainder of this season and probably into next year and the year after that. They keep recycling these bums who can't play and keep giving them work and giving them jobs. He was awful tonight. And he did some things that you would expect from a rookie. This guy's been in the league forever. And yet he doesn't know he doesn't have a timeout before halftime? And he takes a sack? Are you kidding me? I mean, this guy's a joke. I mean, the fumble that he had, don't tell me you didn't see Taco Charlton jumping up in the air trying to beat your right tackle. He runs around him, circles back around. You're still holding on to the ball as he knocks it out of your hand. You've got to be kidding me. Billy Ho is a chump, okay? And the fact that they didn't just start Jarrett Stidham tonight, they deserve to lose this game. He probably would have made some mistakes tonight. I'd much rather see the young fella making mistakes than to have Billy Ho go out here and stink it up, all right? There's no excuse for a veteran like Billy Ho to go out there and make some of the dumb mistakes he made tonight. He cost them the game. They had no shot with him in there. And this is a 6-3 game that would have been tied at halftime if he just throws the football away. But he didn't. He ran. First of all, it's not like that snap took place with 6 seconds left. It was 14 seconds. It's hard to burn 14 seconds up. Like, you go through your first or second read, you don't see anything, you throw it away and say, okay, we got to kick a field goal. This clown runs in a circle and then runs around and gets sacked. And then stands up and tries to call timeout. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, anybody that says that Cam Newton contracting COVID-19 isn't a problem, look, it's not a problem long term. He'll be back right after the bye week. He'll be back and everything will be fine. But this is a winnable football game. And I'm still not, they're convinced the Patriots are going to qualify for the postseason. And they're probably right. When I look around the landscape of the AFC, I don't see 7 teams that are going to get in, and I don't see 7 other teams better than the Patriots. You know, so they're more likely than not, they're right. But when I did my predictions for the season, I had the Patriots on the outside looking in. They're going to make the playoffs more likely than not. But they're not going to win the division. They're not winning the division this year. Barring some kind of unforeseen circumstances, they're not beating out the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. So then that leaves them with a wild card option. Now, there are 3 wild cards versus 2 this year, but you start looking around, and let's just, for shits and giggles here, okay? It's early. It's way too early to be doing this, but I want to do it anyway. So the Bills, let's just go with the Bills in the AFC East, the Chiefs in the AFC West, the Ravens in the AFC North, even though I would not count Pittsburgh out. And let's go with I like the Colts. Let's go with the Colts in the AFC South, okay? I think the Titans are going to be around. That's one wild card. I know the Steelers are going to be around if they're relatively healthy. That's another wild card. Don't forget about the Browns, who are all of a sudden 3-1. I'm just saying. That's 7 teams right there, not counting the New England Patriots, okay? Now, I don't want to bury the Chargers yet. They play good defense. We'll see what happens with them. The Raiders, I don't believe in the Raiders, but they're still 2-2, and you still got to respect the Raiders and what they're capable of when they get a little bit healthier. We'll see what they are able to do. So that's another team in the mix. And then you got the Patriots. That's 10 teams vying for 7 spots in the AFC when it's all said and done. They could easily not finish in the top 7. That's all I'm saying. I think they will. I think they're better than the Raiders. I think they're better than the Chargers. And I think they're going to ultimately be better than the Browns when it's all said and done. However, they could end up, because of this 2-game stretch with no Newton, they could end up at the end of the season looking up and saying, damn, we need the Browns to lose in week 17 in order for us to get in. And the Browns win and you're out. And you'll look back at this 2-game, because it's no guarantee they beat the Broncos next week. And that'll be the real one. If they beat the Broncos, you'll say, look, they're probably going to lose to the Chiefs anyway, whether Newton was healthy and in the game or not. Okay, you're probably right. If they lose to the Broncos next week, and it's a possibility, especially after watching what you watched tonight, is there any doubt in your mind that they could go to Mile High and lose next week? Because it's a very distinct possibility that could take place. And if they do lose that game, that's a game they win with Newton, and there's no doubt about that. Now you're sitting here at 2-3 when you easily could have been 4-1 or 3-2 at worst. Now you're 2-3 because Newton contracted COVID-19. So this is a big deal. This is a really big deal, but we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, the Chiefs were really stagnant on offense. Credit the Patriots. I told you, if there was one guy in the league that could slow them down, and I just want everybody to understand the Chiefs are not, they're not this super team that's immortal that no one can beat. They've been on the ropes twice this season in 4 games, okay? Now, the other one was family business, so I kind of write that one off and say that's family business. Anything can happen when you're dealing with a family member. This game here had no business being as close as it was for as long as it was. And I think some of that had to do with them looking at the opponent and saying, yeah, it's Bill Belichick, but there's no Brady over there. There's no Cam Newton over there. We're good tonight. We should be good. As long as we don't do stupid stuff, we should be good. But they did stupid stuff. You had the fumble. You missed opportunities. Mahomes wasn't his sharpest tonight. He missed some throws he normally makes in his sleep. He should have thrown 2 interceptions in this game. They got a break on a play that looked like an interception to me. They weren't sharp at all. They were vulnerable tonight. And unfortunately, the Patriots simply didn't have enough bullets in the gun. You know, when you're talking about Billy Ho and Jarrett Stidham at quarterback, this was a very winnable game by the Patriots, and they simply weren't good enough. And they made too many mistakes. You turn it over 3 times. You miss out on an opportunity to get a field goal before halftime. You do some of the things you did tonight, you deserve to lose the ball game. Make no mistake about it. But this was a game there for the taking. And if you're the Chiefs, you just say, hey, look, we won. It wasn't pretty. We got knocked off kilter with the schedule. This was supposed to be a Sunday 4:25 start. You know, but it is what it is. We got the win. Hey, let's move on to Las Vegas next week. So that's what they're going to do. They're just going to move on. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was solid tonight. He wasn't great. Not like he was last game against the Ravens. Samuel Watkins with a big fumble. And it seems like the only time the Chiefs are able to be slowed down offensively is when they get in their own way. Like when they were running the Ravens out of the building on Monday night, and then you get the Darwin Thompson fumble that allowed the Ravens to hang around. Tonight, I don't know if they were going to ever run away from the Patriots necessarily, but that was an opportunity. The Patriots made a mistake. They turned the football over. You got great field position, and you give it right back. So that was a big turnover at that point of the game. And it really, after that point, they were never the same team in the first half. They never even got close to scoring again in the first half after that fumble by Samuel Watkins. So they struggled in the first half of this game. They struggled for some of the second half. I mean, again, this was a close ball game in the fourth quarter until the Chiefs finally ran away and hid with a couple of scores and a turnover that went for a pick six. This was a close ball game. So you look at this thing, and they could have easily been in trouble in this football game. And you saw the formula. You saw the recipe. You saw what they had in mind. And if Cam Newton's on the field, they execute this even more flawlessly. They ate time of possession up in the second half of this game. They dominated the ball for just about the entire third quarter. I think the Chiefs had 2 3-and-outs, and the Patriots had the football the remainder of the quarter. Like, they literally dominated and had nothing to show for it because of mistakes by Billy Ho. So you saw what the formula was. Hey, take the air out of the football. Keep this clock running. Keep Mahomes and that offense on the sidelines. Let's convert third downs. I don't care how we do it, by Billy Ho running, by us running, short passing game, whatever. Just convert on third down so we stay on the field. And then we're going to run it on first down. Maybe run it again on second down. And if we can, we'll run it again on third down. But if not, short passing game. Complete a pass. If you got to use your legs to extend this drive, do so. And we're just going to keep them on the sidelines. And it was working to perfection. They just didn't execute in certain stretches tonight, and it cost them. But this Chiefs team, to me, isn't as dynamic offensively, or I should say, they're not as consistent offensively as they were last year or the year before that even. However, I think the defense is much better than it was last year or the year before that. Like, I don't even think it's comparable where this defense is now compared to where it was last year in the first year of Spags or the year before that when Bob Sutton was still your defensive coordinator. This defense is much better, and they're fully capable of keeping this team in ball games when the offense doesn't have its fastball. Because the offense didn't have its fastball 2 weeks ago against the Chargers. Defense kept them in the game long enough so that the offense could wake the hell up and finally score. It was the defense that got the big interception that changed the tide of that game. The Chiefs then had 2 big plays to Tyreek Hill, and voila, they're back in the game. So the defense has proven they're fully capable of picking up the slack, whereas in past years, this defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. They had to have 30-plus points from the offense in order to function. That is not the case this year. As a matter of fact, I don't think they've given up 20 this year. Now that I'm thinking about it, they gave up 20 against the Chargers, I believe. That was the one game. I don't think they've given up more than 20, though. Let's see. Week 1, they didn't give up 20 to the Texans. They gave up 20, I believe. They won 23-20, if I'm not mistaken, against the Chargers. The Ravens got to within a touchdown at 30, 27-20. They ultimately won that game 34-20. So they had gotten within, so they didn't score over 20. And tonight, the Patriots got stuck on 10. So they haven't surrendered more than 20 points in any game this season. And it's not like they're playing the little sisters of the poor. They're playing against teams that can score the ball. We didn't know the Texans would be an 0-4 outfit and stink offensively this year when they played them in week 1. They were still the high-flying, explosive, dynamic team led by Deshaun Watson minus, this is a big minus, DeAndre Hopkins. But held them to less than 20. The Chargers aren't a big offensive football team. They're not an explosive, dynamic offensive team, but they scored 31 this week against Tampa Bay, and we thought Tampa Bay's defense was pretty quality. They put up 31 on them. They put up 24 on that defense, minus a pick 6 that went to the crib. That made it 31, but that's nor here nor there. They scored 31 points total. So I'm saying this defense is much improved, and they're capable of carrying the day for the Chiefs if need be. And so that's why they don't have to be as dynamic and explosive offensively. But we've seen when they need to, when the opportunity presents itself, they can. We saw it on Monday night, even though I thought they didn't keep their foot on the gas pedal. The Chiefs of last year and the year before that game against the Ravens, that's a 44-point night. That's not 34, that's 44. And I'm not seeing that from them right now. I don't see that killer instinct. I don't see a team that feels the need to put their foot on your throat and crush your larynx. I just see a team that's content with, hey, you're down. Don't get up, and we won't have to use any necessary force. But if you start squirming, if you try to get up, that's when we'll have to use a little bit of excessive force here, and we don't want to do that. So as long as you agree to stay down and not put up a fight, they won't put their foot on the gas pedal. So anyway, I digress. See what we got. A couple comments. We'll get these and we'll get out of here. RG3 hashtag says, my Browns, if we play good defense, we're a top 5 team in the AFC. It's possible. Myles Garrett, man. Golly, he's so good. Had another sack, forced fumble on Sunday. That defense has potential with Denzel Ward in the secondary and Myles Garrett up front. If you can get Olivier Vernon back, that was his first game back versus Dallas. You can get him back healthy and playing some good quality ball. I love what Sheldon Richardson has been doing inside this year. Larry Ogunjobi is a really young, up-and-coming defensive tackle in this league. You got some talent on the football team. It's about health for you, and it's about getting everybody to gel and mesh together. But you got some stuff there. It's definitely some stuff in Cleveland. Let's see. Jabril Adibi. I think the Titans will win the division. Also, Bill O'Brien is gone. Celebrate. We talked about that on the podcast. But any Texans fans out there, celebrate. You finally rid yourself of the big bad Billy O. He's had to go for the longest time, and now he's finally gone. Romeo Crennel will take over as the interim head coach. And that's not something that he's foreign to. He's done this before back in Kansas City. He took over as the interim coach before, I believe, getting the permanent position in Kansas City. So we'll see what happens with the Texans this year. I've written them off already, 0-4. Too much of a hole for them to dig themselves up out of. Too much damage done by Billy O before he had to go. And so I don't see them overcoming it. As far as the Titans winning the division, it's very possible that they win that division. They're undefeated right now at 3-0. And we'll see what they're able to do. But I like Indianapolis in that division. I like their defense. I think they've got enough weapons to make some noise in that division. But for above all else, I like their defense. I'm not too impressed with Tennessee's defense right now. They haven't really stopped anybody outside of Denver this season. They've been in shootouts almost every week. They gave it up big time to Jacksonville. They gave it up big time to Minnesota. They could easily be 1-2 right now. 0-3, really. You know, they could have lost to Denver, but they shouldn't have lost that game. But they could have easily lost to Jacksonville. Should have lost to Minnesota. Their defense hasn't stopped anybody the last couple of weeks. I'm not confident in their defense. I am confident in Indianapolis's defense, and that's why I'll take them to win that division. But it should be interesting in the AFC conference as a whole because, as I mentioned, New England isn't guaranteed anything. It's amazing. Everyone just wants to assume Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, they'll figure it out and get them into the playoffs. And that's a really good prevailing thought to have. They've earned up and built up that equity that you should be able to just believe that those guys, off the strength of who they are and what they've done, can get this team into the postseason. And I don't doubt that. With the way Cam Newton has played to start this season off, I'd like to think that they're going to find a way to win 9-10 games, and that should be enough to get them in as a 7 seed at worst. But I'm just looking around at the landscape in the AFC. If things continue the way that they're going, I think you could get 2 out of the AFC South with with Tennessee and Indianapolis. I think you could get 2 out of the 3 potentially out of the North with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. you could get. I think you're only getting one out of the West, and that's the Chiefs. And you may only get one. You know, if you get three out of the North, and that's where it's honestly that's what it's going to boil down to. Is it 2-2-1-2, or is it 2-3-2, or is it 2-3-1-1? And that's what it all boils down to. Is if the AFC North gets three, then that means and the AFC South gets two. That means the West and the East only get one, and that's their division winners. So it's going to be interesting to see what New England does. They got to beat Denver. If they beat Denver next week, they're fine. It's much to do about nothing if they beat, because that's what we thought would have happened if Newton was healthy anyway. You go to Kansas City and you lose. This was a winnable football game, but hindsight is 2020. And you go to Denver, you win. You're 3-2. You go into your bye week. If they lose to Denver now, then you start saying that's two games they could have potentially won. Newton wasn't there for those games. That's going to hurt them moving forward. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Knock out some of these comments and we'll get out of here. Gregory Lightbody says, do you think the Chargers will trade Tyrod if Herbert keeps playing good? And if no, they're not going to trade Tyrod Taylor, and nobody's trading for Tyrod Taylor. Stop trying to get rid of Dwayne Haskins. And you really want Black Alex Smith light? We talked about this already on the podcast today. You really want Black Alex Smith light? We got one of those guys on the roster already. You want another one? You want to trade for one? I'm gonna just pretend you were kidding just now. You were just joshing. Kevin the PRF says, despite Brown's success, I still see Burrow over Mayfield to get to the Super Bowl first. Hashtag it. You know what's crazy is that Mayfield isn't even doing a lot this year. He's really not. They're running the hell out of the football, and he's just managing the game. So if you're asking me who's more likely to carry their team to the Super Bowl first, yeah, it'd be Burrow. Mayfield is literally a passenger right now on his Cleveland 3-1 start to the season. He hasn't done much of anything. You know, even the 35-point game they had against Cincinnati on that Thursday night, go look at his numbers. He was pedestrian that night. They ran the hell out of the football. Remember, they ran for over 200 yards that night. They just put up 49. They just ran for over 300. Like, he's not doing a lot. Even in the Washington game, I watched the film on that game, and I was like, let me go look at his numbers, because he's not doing shit. And the numbers bear that out. He didn't do anything in that game. When throws were there, he made some of them. He missed some of them. He's just a passenger right now, but I'm not mad at him. You know, do what you are supposed to do. When your number's called, you make a play, and he's been doing that. When they need him on 3rd and 7, he's been making throws to extend drives, but he hasn't had to do much yet. Larry G's the best says, I think the Bills are the only team in the AFC that can give you think the Bills are the only team in the AFC that can give the Bills a run for their money? Okay. Got you on that one. I think I know what you're trying to say. You're talking about the Chiefs. Well, we're going to get to see that matchup on Thursday Night Football in a couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens there. Kevin, the PRF. We've talked about this already. Teddy Bridgewater is the original Black Alex Smith. Okay? So to me, Tyrod Taylor is Teddy Bridgewater light. So by definition, he's Black Alex Smith light. That's how we got to that. Anyway, I digress. You guys enjoy the rest of Monday Night Football. We'll come back, reconvene, break down Packers and Falcons. So I'll see you guys at the conclusion of Packers Falcons. That's going to be a late one. So I can understand it if you guys take a rain check, catch the playback a little bit later on, because that's going to finish well after midnight. More likely than not, they pushed the start of that game back to 9 o'clock to kind of accommodate the first game. And that's going to push that into the 12:30 windows or so. So I get it if a lot of you are like, deuces, I'll catch you next time. Gotcha. I understand. But in the meantime, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the game. And hopefully we'll chop it up here shortly for the capper to week number 4, Packers hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Until then, you guys, take care. Have a good one. I will see you guys next time.
LouieTeeNetwork.